Well, the Eagles go down against the Washington Commanders in Week 16. If I came up here and said I was surprised, I think that would be a lie. After the way that this game transpired, with the injuries that occurred, with some of the egregious officiating, and a whole bunch more, with the way the flow of this game went, even though the Eagles had a 13-point lead going into the fourth quarter, I would not have been shocked whether they had won or lost this game based on how it was going. And it's a tough loss. It's a brutal knock, to a team that has won 10 straight games, a team that was flying on all cylinders, that, had everything building up one by one. But ultimately, what this game came down to was, nothing went the Eagles' way. And it's frustrating. They'll have to wait another week to clinch the NFC East. Now they have to be worried about injuries. They have to be worried about a lot of things that they didn't have to keep on their mind coming into this game. But ultimately, the Eagles go down and they suffer a final second touchdown to Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And that's how this game goes down in Washington. Man, welcome into A to Z Philly. This is our Eagles postgame live show presented by BetMGM. Use the code ATOZPA with BetMGM on your first deposit, man. Wow. So much to break down. I'm still trying to take it in, to be quite honest with you, because, man, this game was so weird. Anybody else feel that way? Like, I'm going to talk about some of the drives and, some of the things that happened, but overall, I just want to say, this was such a weird game. And I have been saying for a couple weeks now, keep your eyes on this Commanders game. Keep your eyes on this Commanders game because, they always have a game like this against Washington. Like, they always have one of those weird, scrappy, gritty division games where, something happens or a crazy call or a guy gets injured, and it always comes down to the final couple minutes. Now, the biggest takeaway for me was the Jalen Hurts injury, obviously. And you go down Jalen Hurts, and I just want to say, for the people out there who have been talking about Jalen in a negative light, and they've been saying that he can't throw the football and Jalen can't lead or whatever else they've been saying, man, do we miss Jalen now? Is the impact of Jalen Hurts now felt within this organization, this fan base, and this team? Because the Eagles were out to 21 points in the first quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, Jalen Hurts took this team down the field for 2 touchdowns, essentially. And as soon as Jalen Hurts went out, right, Saquon Barkley was off to, let's just say, it was going to be another historic performance by Saquon. He had 109 rushing yards in the first quarter. And as soon as Jalen Hurts went out, the entire dynamic of the game changed. You come into a game against a Washington defense that is 4th against the pass and 24th against the run, and you knew what they were going to try to do, right? After proving a point last week, they were going to come in, utilize the running game, which is their identity, and just run it down their throats, right? And that's exactly what they did. 7 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Saquon was off to the races, a 68-yard rushing touchdown in the first quarter. And they couldn't get anything going the rest of the game. So I think my biggest takeaway is, can we all appreciate Jalen and what he does for this offense? Having him in this system, both as a thrower and as a runner, it creates such a deceiving offense going up against some of these defenses. And, Saquon just couldn't get it going the rest of the game. Now, in terms of the Jalen Hurts play, he's scrambling, he's running. And I know a lot of people have been, they've been against it. They don't want Jalen to run. They don't want him to put himself in harm's way. He has the broken finger, and now he's got a concussion, right? And we're looking at this Eagles team couple games away from the playoffs. And we've been saying, Jalen's finally going to have a chance to get to the playoffs healthy. Now he goes down, man. And I'm not saying this is some serious injury. I mean, matter of fact, it looks like Jalen told the ref, no, I'm good to stay in. Then they sent him to the tent. Then he tried to run back in. And then they said, no, we're going to take you back door or back to the locker room for another evaluation. So the reporting on that was not concise. It was not clear by any means. Jalen ends up missing the rest of the game. We will get to Kenny Pickett. But, Jalen, I guess he could have slid in that situation, right? You want Jalen to slide instead of taking that late hit. I mean, who was it? Pharrell, I think that hit him. I don't think it was a dirty hit per se, but if you leave yourself out there in harm's way, they're going to try to have any advantage they can, and they're going to hit you. Now, should it have been a 15-yarder? Oh, boy, we will get to the officiating. I have been waiting all game to talk about this garbage. And ladies and gentlemen, you know me, right? We come up here, we dissect every game. This officiating job today was not garbage. It was like the bottom stench of the sewer. This was the worst. And I mean, take my words as is. This was the worst officiated game I think I've ever seen in my life. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, Jalen Hurts goes down and Kenny Pickett comes in. And I know what they're going to say about Kenny Pickett. Oh, it was a valiant effort. Kenny Pickett, 14 for 24 with 143 yards. He threw a touchdown. Yeah, you know what Kenny Pickett is? He's the guy that you draft last in a game down at the local park because you feel bad for him. He can make a couple plays, but he's not reliable, all right? As we saw today, Kenny Pickett is not good, okay? Would you trust Kenny Pickett to come on the field in a playoff game and lead this Eagles team to a win? Like today showed me more than ever why they need Jalen to stay as healthy as possible. Kenny Pickett is not it, ladies and gentlemen. He comes in, makes a couple nice throws. Cool, they're moving the ball. Then what does he do? Throws run right into the breadbasket of Frankie Louvu. All it took was a little sidestep deception. Throws it right to him. And that allowed the Commanders to get their flow going. Kenny Pickett is not it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sitting there all game screaming, yo, put in Tanner McKee. Am I crazy for wanting to see Tanner McKee? This guy was out there slinging it in the preseason. He looks like a competent backup. Kenny Pickett, a few times in this game, is holding the rib cage. You can tell he's hurt. Then he's holding the elbow. The guy's banged up. I don't understand how they make the designation to take Jalen out so quickly. Yes, it looked like he was wobbling a bit, like he was, like dazed and confused a bit. I get that, right? But Kenny Pickett looked like he was hurt. They didn't take him out. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because we have a lot to talk about with this game. Tanner McKee is better than Kenny Pickett. Go back and watch the preseason highlights. Go back and watch last year's preseason highlights. Tanner McKee is a competent backup quarterback. You have to realize, though, what a backup quarterback is. Like, I'm not saying I came in here expecting them to win when Jalen went down, but you had a 21-7 cushion. I mean, you're out here playing pretty good ball. Saquon's running it down their throat, and you got away from what worked. Now, in addition to that, the defensive side of the ball was pretty putrid in the second half. And how much blame can I put on that? Today's conversation is going to be trying to draw the line in the sand between injuries and just bad football. Because there was a lot of bad football today, but you got guys like Oren Burks and Tristan McCollum and guys like that who aren't regular players on the team. And I will say I'm a bit concerned about the injury bug because all week I've been sticking my chest out talking about, hey, not only are the Eagles playing the best football in the league right now, but they're the healthiest team. We saw the Detroit Lions lose 4 guys last week for the rest of the season. And you look at the Eagles, and let's be honest, right? Nowadays in sports, it's not only about being the best team. You have to have luck as well along the way. You have to be healthy. And I just don't like the timing of these injuries coming along, right? Who got hurt today? Josh Sweat down with an ankle. Jordan Davis went out. Thankfully, the big fella came back in. I thought the way he was limping off with Sirianni, I thought he was done. He comes back in. Darius Slay got hurt. Oh, CJ Gardner-Johnson got ejected. Trust me, I'm getting to the officials. We will get there. I just want to talk about the injuries first. Jalen Hurts gets injured. everybody goes down. And the injury bug is striking at the wrong time. Before I get into the officials, I want to talk about the final quarter and how this went down, because the Eagles gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter. And the Eagles defense that I know would not give up 22 points in the fourth quarter. This team hasn't given up 20 points total in like 7 or 8 weeks. So let's talk about the drives here in the fourth quarter. The Washington Commanders, okay, hold on, let's go back. The Eagles had the lead 27-14. They went on a 10-minute, I think it was a 9 or 10-minute drive in the third quarter. They're controlling the time of possession, and shout out to Kellen Moore. He kept going to Saquon. He kept feeding him the rock. 29 carries. Keep in mind, he had 109 yards in the first quarter. He only had 41 yards the rest of the way on about 22 carries. So he was only averaging about 1 to 2 yards per play. Kellen Moore kept sticking with the run. You had to, because this coaching staff showed at numerous times that they didn't have the trust in Kenny Pickett. For example, you run it on a 3rd and 7 before the half. You showed that you didn't have the confidence in Kenny Pickett, and neither do I. The guy's not that good. He had a couple years to prove that he was a starting caliber quarterback with a solid defense in Pittsburgh, and that's why he's a backup now. But anyway, man, Eagles get off to a good start, and then they started to get shut down. It almost completely flipped, right? The Eagles were trying to run the ball, and the Commanders' defensive line pretty much said in this game from the second quarter on, we are not letting Saquon Barkley beat us. You can try to beat us in the air if you want with Kenny Pickett, but you're not beating us with Saquon. We are going to load the box the rest of the game, and we're just going to keep eating you alive. And that's what they did. And then we get to the third quarter. The Eagles go on an 8-minute drive, 8-13, and Jake Elliott ends up kicking a 40-yard field goal. Then we get to the Commanders, who go on an 11-play, 61-yard drive, and Jaden Daniels on a 4th and 11. And ladies and gentlemen, there was 2 points in this game that I thought the game was about to be over. Here was the first one. It was 4th and 11 to end the third quarter. Commanders are down 27-14, and they decide to keep the offense out. Jaden Daniels runs it himself for 30 yards. There were 3 guys that kind of collapsed on him right around the first down marker, and you just got to tip your cap to Jaden Daniels. He made a superior play, and he kind of sidesteps and runs it, and I think that was all the way down to like the 20-yard line. And Jaden Daniels, if he had been stopped on that play and the Eagles got the ball back, I think the game probably would have been over. So that was the first play where I thought the game was over. Then a couple plays later, they get down inside the 10. Jaden Daniels finds Olamide Zaccheaus for a 4-yard touchdown. And one of the replacements, Tristan McCollum, ends up giving up the touchdown. He just came in. He didn't really know what he was doing. I will question Vic Fangio as to why Sidney Brown was not in the game, but that's another case for another day. Eagles then get the ball back. Kenny Pickett throws a little shovel pass. He fumbles it, but they say that it was an incomplete, and Kenny Pickett is banged up. Eagles have to punt away. Then the Washington Commanders come back again, and they score another touchdown with former Eagle Olamide Zaccheaus on a 49-yard play where it looked like Darius Slay was trying to run his ass off the field, and he got confused. There was 12 men on the field, so there was a penalty nonetheless, and Daniels knew he had a free play, but Slay essentially messed up the entire communication. And Slay had a pretty good day today. He did get banged up again, came back on the field, but it left, who was it? Yeah, Zaccheaus wide open for a 49-yard touchdown. And Slay screwed up the communication. Commanders now lead the game 28-27. Eagles then get the ball back. Kenny Pickett is moving down the field. It's 4th and 7 at the 50. And this was right after Pickett had Saquon Barkley. And here's the difference between your starting quarterback and your backup quarterback. He's got Saquon trailing down the sideline. All he's got to do is lead him 5 yards. And Saquon is off to the races with a touchdown. He underthrows him. Saquon drops the ball. 4th and 7 at the 50. Kenny Pickett ends up throwing it to A.J. Brown, who catches it short of the sticks, but he makes an incredible spin off the defender, and he gets the first down. Couple plays later, 4th and 7 after Kenny Pickett gets hit on the helmet. And oh my gosh, you got Greg Olsen on the broadcast. Oh, well, pick up the flag. Pick up the flag. It wasn't a hit. Greg Olsen, shut the hell up. Oh my God. If you want to talk about officials, we will talk about officials. All I hear is Greg Olsen's annoying, just scratchy voice. Pick up the flag. Pick up the flag. And what do the refs do? They pick up the flag. So a 50-yard field goal. Jake Elliott, who had missed one earlier in the game, ends up kicking it through the uprights, barely. Jake Elliott hits his first 50-yard field goal of the season. Stop me right there if you thought that Jake Elliott had a 50-yard field goal of the season. Isn't this guy one of the best kickers in the NFL? He has not hit a 50-plus yarder until today, and it came at a big time in the fourth quarter. So the Eagles go back up by 2, 3:48 to go. Then Jaden McDaniels tries to force it to Luke McCaffrey, and the ball is batted down. Great play by Slay, and it's picked off by Blankenship. So you got a couple minutes to go, and you're like, yo, Eagles are actually going to find a way to win this game. They take over at the Washington 27. But of course, Kenny Stagnant Pickett can't make a damn play. And then on 3rd and 5, and I talked about the first play in the third quarter where I thought the game was going to be over. Jaden Daniels, tip your cap. He deserves that big run on 4th and 11. But here is the play of the game, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you, completely honest, this play is so eerily similar to the Saquon Barkley drop in week 2 against Atlanta. The Philadelphia Eagles on 3rd and 5 decide to drop back and throw. Washington has one timeout. If you get a first down, the game is over pretty much. Kenny Pickett throws a little slant to DeVonta Smith, who is wide open. Smitty, I love you, man. Smitty is so Mr. Reliable. He's such a good number one. He's so no ego. Smitty is the guy. But the same way I said it about Saquon in week 2 is what I'm going to say it about now in terms of DeVonta. You have to catch that football. You have to catch that football, DeVonta Smith. Take the player, take the relationship, take how you feel about him as an Eagle out of it. DeVonta Smith, you have to catch that football. The game would have been over. The game would have been over. DeVonta Smith with a brutal drop. And it results in another 40-yard field goal. Eagles up by 5, 1:58 to go. And what do the Commanders do? They capitalize. Jaden Daniels is just too good. He ends up throwing his 5th touchdown of the day. They drive down, and with 11 seconds left, Jaden Daniels finds Jamison Crowder on a 9-yard touchdown. Another blown defensive assignment. The defense was brutal in the second half, but they also had a bunch of players out. So it's frustrating. You know, where do you draw the line between Vic Fangio was working with backups and the Eagles just didn't have a good day? There was a lot of things that didn't happen today. You know, Quinyon Mitchell gives up his first touchdown of the season, and it was a play I've never seen Quinyon get fooled on before. Tip your cap to Terry McLaurin, but it looked like he did a little double move and just fooled the heck out of him. Quinyon Mitchell doesn't usually give those up. I saw Cooper DeJean with a rare 3rd down penalty. So, no, it was not the best day, but yes, the Eagles were dealing with injury. Let me say this. If the Eagles had not gotten the amount of injuries in this game that they did, if they didn't sustain this many injuries, they looked like they were going to win this game 50-14, to be quite honest. So, in that sense, if they can get healthy, I'm not concerned. But the way they lost that game just felt eerily similar to the Falcons game. If Smitty makes that catch, we are not talking about a loss. The game is over, and that's where we go. Ladies and gentlemen, drop your thoughts down in the comments. Do me a favor. If you are watching on the A to Z Philly YouTube channel right now, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 8,000 subscribers. I truly appreciate everybody and the support. If you're watching on Facebook, like and share. All right, man. I've been saving the best for last. We need to talk about the officiating. We will get back to some of the player performances. We will get back to how this game transpired. But ladies and gentlemen, give me a minute and a half here to have the floor. Because, oh my gosh, I'm not one to blame the games anymore on officials. I know that the officiating is bad across the league, but I have never seen a game officiated like this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start it off in the first quarter or second quarter, whatever it was. Milton Williams taps Jaden Daniels, gives him a little shove. Daniels goes falling down. You know how many times I saw that in this game with Kenny Pickett? You know how many times I saw Kenny Pickett get banged up in this game? Nothing. 15-yarder Milton Williams. And then a couple plays later, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Hold on, stay with me now. During a TV timeout, I'm watching commercials about nachos and cell phone bills, and they come back from a TV timeout, and they say, oh, well, C.J. Gardner-Johnson got a 15-yarder for John for talking. Oh, what did you say? Did you talk about him and how bad he is? What did you say? But hold up, it gets worse. It gets worse. They show the instant replay of the 15-yarder, and ladies and gentlemen, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, standing right in front of the ref, gets his face mask shoved into his nose. His helmet pops off his head. And you know what the dumbass official does? He looks right at C.J. Gardner-Johnson, steps in front of the Commanders player, and throws the flag. The NFL needs to be investigated. I've never seen something so bad. They never told us what he did. You know what the dumbass, or you know what the referee does? He throws the flag, and you know what the broadcast says? Oh, well, I didn't see anything. He must have minced words. Take your words and shove it. Are you kidding me? That 15-yarder screwed the Eagles. But it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen, because a couple plays later, Jalen Carter, and I've seen this play a million times, he goes to pick up his boy who's down on the ground, and he just lightly taps a defender, a defensive lineman of the Commanders, and that guy falls backwards with a beautiful, beautiful Oscar nominee performance. And you know what happens? Flag, 15 yards on Jalen Carter. Are you serious? Are you serious? That's number 3. But hold up. Here's the final domino. Later in the game, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who, by the way, sets the precedent. He sets the tone on this defense. Again, during a TV timeout, I was getting something to eat, and I see they're reviewing a play, and I see C.J. Gardner-Johnson disqualified from the game. What? They come back from another TV timeout, and they say C.J. Gardner-Johnson once again got another unsportsmanlike for mincing words. The referees are soft. The NFL must be investigated. 2 15-yard penalties on unsportsmanlikes for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's one of the captains of this defense, because he was mincing words. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is losing his ish on the sideline. Big Dom's got to escort him out. C.J. Gardner-Johnson looks up at the stands, and he flips the double bird to the Commanders fans. What he should have done is flip the bird to the referees, because that was an absolutely egregious call. And it screwed the Eagles. It absolutely screwed. Tristan McCollum gave up a touchdown on the final in the final quarter. Would C.J. Gardner-Johnson have given up that touchdown? Probably not. Probably not. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, as soon as he went out of the game, all of the intensity, all of the toughness just rattled. The Eagles gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter because one of their defensive leaders was taken out of the game single-handedly for absolutely no reason at all. I'm not one to complain about the officials, man, but it was the most egregious crap that I've ever seen, and it costed the Eagles this football game. So yes, part of this loss is 100% on the referees. Saquon Barkley got a face mask. They missed that. They ended up calling one later. Oh, I don't know, A.J. Brown, who gets grabbed 5 million times. And shout out to Kellen Moore or Nick Sirianni, or maybe it was Kenny Pickett, who just realized how good A.J. Brown is. I've been saying this every damn week. He starts force feeding the ball to A.J. Brown, comes out of the half, boom, sends a rocket 60 yards down the field. Marshawn Lattimore, the prized acquisition at the trade deadline, 3 defensive pass interferences in the third quarter alone. As a matter of fact, he should have had a 4th. There was one in the end zone that they didn't call. The referees are just so garbage, man. They were absolutely terrible. But anyway, now that my rant about the officiating is done, give me your thoughts in the chat. I want to read some of your comments. Do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree in the chat? Because you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, man, and yes, Jaden Daniels threw 5 touchdowns. Yes, he ran for 81 yards. Big game out of Jaden Daniels. But you know what? The Commanders also turned the ball over 5 times. 5 times they turned it over. Eagles defense couldn't come through and make the final play. This is a frustrating loss. I'm not overly concerned unless all of the injuries are longer term. But again, I go back to certain plays and certain moments in the game. And, you know, if DeVonta Smith catches the football, like, we're not talking about a loss. Like, the game would be over. So through all the adversity, you still had a really good chance to win this game. All right, let's go to the comment section and we'll talk about more as we pull through. Appreciate y'all being in here, man. Do me a favor and like the stream wherever you're watching and subscribe and follow the channel. ABD says, you're spot on today, RB. Orchard says, I agree with you. Michael says, clearly the NFL hates the birds. Chris Moore says, we can't do ish without Jalen, apparently. And you know what, Chris? That's a great point. I actually tweeted that out in the fourth quarter. Maybe we can actually realize, and all these crazy, you know, talking heads out there can actually put a concept together in their brain and watch the game and realize that Jalen Hurts' impact on this team goes beyond the box score. Oh, well, Jalen Hurts didn't throw for 200 yards. Oh, well, Jalen Hurts didn't throw a touchdown today. Who gives a shit? Jalen Hurts literally brings so much deception to this offense. He hides so many things. The fact that Jalen can tuck it and run for 20 yards, it adds a whole unique layer of your offense. As soon as Jalen went out, they literally shifted the focus to Saquon Barkley. He had 109 yards on the first 7 touches, and he only had 41 yards the rest of the game. So all these people out there that say, oh, well, you know, Jalen Hurts can't win. Jalen Hurts, you know, he's not a winner. Yeah, the hell he is. Having Jalen in this offense makes us so dynamic, versatile. If Jalen Hurts did not get hurt in this football game, the Eagles were about to score 50 today. They scored 33 with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, who stinks. Crazy, man. C. Vanny on the YouTube chat says, I was screaming so loud at the TV because of the referees. Both my wife and I turned the game off. Couldn't take it anymore. Of course, that lasted for a minute. They were so bad today, man. They were so bad today. I'm not trying to just blame the game on the referees because there was injuries, adversity, but the referees were so freaking putrid, man. And they were a big reason why the Eagles lost. You took their defensive leader away. You call these stupid penalties. How many penalties did the Eagles even have in this game, man? 10 penalties for 91 yards. And I would say only about half of them were actually deserved. I mean, you look at the Eagles, man, they still ran it for 211 yards. They had 14 drives, 338 yards of offense. You know, I mean, 3 for 16 on third down is not good. But, you know, I mean, what did we expect when Kenny Pickett came in the game? I still would have put Tanner McKee in. I think he's better than Kenny Pickett. But Kenny Pickett, ladies and gentlemen, what today showed me is that if Jalen Hurts goes down at any point from now until the end of the season, the Eagles are not going to win because Kenny Pickett is not good enough. The guy can't go through reads. He can't run. Yes, he was dealing with injury. Yes, he made a couple of these short completions where they set it up perfectly for him. But hey, you know what? If I was on the NFL field and I'm not good enough to be an NFL quarterback, I know that. But I could hit A.J. Brown wide open. I think I could throw a spiral right into his chest. And I keep going back to that play at the end of the third quarter. Maybe it was the beginning of the fourth. This game felt like an eternity, man. This game felt like a damn eternity. It was the one where Jake Elliott hit a 40-yard field goal. Or no, maybe it was the 50-yard field goal. I don't even know, man. Whenever it was, whenever he had Saquon Barkley wide open, that was the game right there too, man. That was the game right there. Hold on, I'm trying to find it so I don't give you guys false information. I thought I had it in my notes. Maybe not. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it was the Eagles' 12-play drive, and it was in the fourth quarter. He had Saquon Barkley wide open down the sideline, and any starting quarterback is going to be able to hit that throw in stride and, get a touchdown. But you know what's crazy, man, is that the Eagles coaching staff, again, showed me that they do not have confidence in Kenny Pickett as the game went on, and as they started to see that this guy can't read a defense, they started to run the ball more. I mean, Saquon, 29 carries, that's a lot. That's a big load. I don't know why they didn't use Kenny Gainwell more. I would have had Gainwell in there a lot more to take that burden off Saquon. There was a play on a 3rd and 3, I think it was, where actually it might have been a 3rd and 3 at the 5-yard line where they go Wildcat formation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have to go Wildcat inside the 10-yard line, like your quarterback is dog crap. He's not good. I mean, if Kenny Pickett can't throw a ball inside the 10-yard line, he's not good enough. It's insane, man. That Saquon 3rd and 3 was absolutely an atrocious play call. They ended up losing 4 yards. But anyway, man, who else do I want to talk about? Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott in this game ended up going, let's see, 4 for 5 for field goals. The one he missed was brutal. I mean, the game, if he doesn't miss that, the game is tied. And I believe that was a 56-yarder that he missed. Let me make sure I have the right on that. Yeah, 56. It came up about an inch short. So, I feel better about Jake Elliott, but am I 100% confident? Am I 100% confident? I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Am I 100% confident in Jake Elliott? No. Couple shaky moments in this game. Another thing that I noticed that was weird, I thought I heard somebody say that Braden Mann was kicking on kickoffs, maybe because they're trying to pin the ball inside the 10. I don't know. But I didn't think the kickoffs were necessarily good today. I don't think the Eagles did a lot of the little things in this game to win it. And I'm concerned about special teams just a little bit. I am a little concerned. Luke McCaffrey today, I mean, this guy looked like he was getting shot out of a rocket, and you kept kicking it to him and letting him run back. The one, he had a 47-yard return. Luckily, the Eagles defense came up big, and I feel like I'm not even talking about the defensive stops because they gave up 36 points, but I do want to highlight, like, in my opinion, this game is much more on the offense than it is the defense. Because you put the defense, again, in a very tough spot to begin the game. Just like you did last week, where you turned it over twice on your own side of the field, and you gave the Steelers a lot of leeway early, even though they didn't capitalize. The defense made some really big stops in this game. For example, on the second drive, I mean, this is after the 47-yard return by McCaffrey. Jalen Carter punches out the ball, right? Fumble. Eagles defense takes over. Brian Robinson didn't even have a fumble at any point this season. He had 0 coming into the game, and you were able to punch it away twice from Brian Robinson. Jalen Carter punched one out. I forget who punched the other one out, but Nolan Smith was everywhere. I mean, they made this guy fumble twice, man. There was a 4th down early, the first drive of the game. The Washington Commanders try to go for it on their own 49, 4th and 1, and Jaden Daniels was back in the shotgun. He hands it off to Brian Robinson, and it was Jordan Davis who made an incredible stop. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, these guys were everywhere today, man. I thought they all played pretty well, and they did force 5 turnovers in this game. Yeah, I don't know, man. The second one was recovered by Cooper DeJean. I didn't see who punted it or who punched it out. It was at the 16-yard line. So, you made the running back fumble. I thought they could have done a better job keeping an eye on Jaden Daniels. But when you go down all these pieces, now you got to hope that they're actually healthy moving forward. But when you go down these pieces, it's hard to stay in. I still think I would have preferred to see Sidney Brown in this game over Tristan McCollum, but, I'll leave that decision up to Vic Fangio because he is the defensive coordinator. A lot of big-time moments in this game, but the fact of the matter is Kenny Pickett is not it. Jalen Hurts has to be healthy. Josh Sweat has to be healthy. Jordan Davis has to be healthy. Darius Slay. I mean, at one point in the fourth quarter, I see Isaiah Rodgers in a game. Keely Ringo. These guys just weren't it. Matter of fact, I thought the first drive for Kenny Pickett, he went 3 for 3, 20 yards and a touchdown. I thought the radio heads tomorrow were going to be like, oh, play Kenny Pickett. Well, guess what? He's garbage. He's not good. Play Tanner McKee. So, despite all the ranting we've done today, the solid parts of today, your defense forced 5 turnovers, which is huge. Couple big interceptions. I thought the last one was going to seal the deal. CJ and Reed both got one. Thought the defensive line played well. I thought Zach Bond played amazing again. Zach Bond is just a freaking monster. Zach Bond has to be all-pro this year, man. Zach Bond has to be all-pro, to be quite honest with you. Zach Bond is amazing. He just makes play after play after play. Nakobe Dean went down. I forgot he got injured at one point in this game. Everybody went down, man. Everybody went down. So sometimes, it's about who can stay healthiest the longest, right? Availability sometimes is the best ability. So you got to hope these guys can stay locked in, man. All right, I want to go to the chat a little bit, and then if I have any more thoughts, I'll give them here. But I want to know from the comments right now, ladies and gentlemen, are you concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles after this game? And I know that's kind of a subjective question based on how you look at it, right? Like, are you looking at it through the injury lens, through the talent lens, defensive side? Are you concerned about Jalen Hurts and his ability to stay healthy? He definitely should have slid. He's got to learn how to slide. I agree 100% with that. But yes or no? Actually, yeah, yes or no? Yes or no in the chat. We'll do that. Yes or no? Are you concerned with the Eagles after this game? Or do you think that this is just one they can chalk up to injuries, players will get healthy, and they'll be fine? You got the Cowboys and the Giants the rest of the way. The number 1 seed is pretty much out of contention, I'd say now. So now you're just trying to keep everybody healthy. Are you concerned about the Eagles after today's game? I want to know your thoughts on that. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, but I got to give a shout out to BetMGM, our sponsor here of the Postgame Show. Enjoy your sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlays, live bets, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So sign up today with bonus code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Saquon hit my bet in the first quarter. I had Saquon over 100 yards. I thought that he was going to have a big game, and he did. He did. Obviously, the rest of the game wasn't that pretty, but Saquon was able to get it done. Eagles were a 4-point favorite. Obviously, they did not cover that. But check out BetMGM, man. They got you covered. All right. Am I concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles? It definitely depends on how many players are actually injured for the next couple weeks. I'm going to say no. I'm going to lean towards no because I think if Jalen Hurts was in this game today, we saw, quite frankly, in the first quarter that they were going to dominate. The Commanders got their mojo back. Credit to them. They played hard. They stuck in there. They got 10 wins. But I was not concerned when the Eagles were fully healthy. So I'm definitely eager to see what the injury updates are. But if this team can get Jalen back next week or the week after, and they can just play the football that they have been playing, And again, they still forced turnovers today. AJ had a big game. If DeVonta Smith makes a catch, which he does 99.9% of the time, this team would have won the game anyway. So I thought they still played at a decent clip with Kenny Pickett. I thought they still found ways to move the football, to extend the drives, to force turnovers. So I'm not overly concerned after this game. I think they will be okay. And I think Jalen's got to be more cognizant and more aware. And I think Jalen has to try to avoid getting hits like this. But again, I'm frustrated with how the game went down with the officiating. Because again, even on the Jalen Hurts play, the guy absolutely dropped his head, went right into Jalen. No call. So, yeah, I think the NFL's got to look at this game tape. And I think, honestly, they need to make some evaluations on their own staff, because this was quite embarrassing in terms of a referee, effort today. Saquon still did his thing. Didn't have any tight end play at all. I thought Calcaterra missed a couple blocks today. I thought he would, maybe get a catch or two. Nothing for Grant Calcaterra. Jake Elliott was still a little bit shaky today. I hope he's back. I hope he's back, man. I hope Jake Elliott's back, but, still got to see it more. He's finally hit a field goal over 50 yards, so maybe that will finally shake off the nerves. I'm guessing the Detroit Lions won because they were up like 1,000,000-0 on the Bears, who suck. Let's see. Lions won 34-17, so that'll pretty much take the Eagles out of contention for that number 1 seed, which is fine, right? We wanted it, we needed it, but I still think the Eagles can win big games. They've been very good on the road this season. Now they're 6-2, but obviously this game is kind of an outlier with what happened. If Jalen Hurts cannot play next week, and this is another question to the chat, do you think that Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee should be the QB1 next week if Jalen Hurts cannot play? I'm eager to hear what happened after Jalen went out, because, again, he tried to rush back in, and then they took him back for a further evaluation with the neuro doctor. So I don't know. It definitely looked like he had some kind of big hit to the head, and like he was acting like a little woozy. But if he cannot play next week, who do you want to see? All right, let's see if you guys are concerned in the chat. Let's see. Shiori says, hell yeah, 100%. Paul says, next 2 games at home. Darnell says, sure am concerned. Peter says, yes. Luis says, no, just need to stay healthy, get Hurts back next week. Walter says, no. Michael says, no. Casey says, yes. Shori says, yes. ABD says, as long as we're healthy, no, without Jalen, the opposition knows exactly how to stop our offense. Yes, if we do have our guys and put the personal egos to the side and play ball, says Kirk. Irvin and Paul say no. BLSG says no. C. Vanny says we will be fine. We were smacking them around with Jalen Hurts. I agree with that. I agree. Who do you guys want to see next week? Kirk says Kenny Pickett. Luis says Tanner McKee. Michael says Tanner. Casey says Tanner. Walter says Tanner McKee. Yeah, I like Tanner McKee, man. I like Tanner McKee. He's not some all-world quarterback. Obviously, any of these backups would be a starter if they were good enough to be, but I just like Tanner McKee's pocket presence. I think he's got a better arm than Kenny Pickett, and I'm surprised that they didn't go to him at all. He was warming up at one point. But Kenny Pickett was staying in there, I guess, to try to be a hero with the elbow and the rib injury. So, yeah, man, that's really what I got on this game. Let's see if I got any other notes I want to talk about. If you guys have any final thoughts, give me them in the chat right now. How do you feel overall about this football game? Saquon Barkley now has 4 60-plus yard rushing touchdowns on the season, which ties a single-season record with Jim Brown and Adrian Peterson. So that's a pretty cool feat for Saquon. Yeah. Just another weird division game against the Washington Commanders. They always happen like this. I feel like it's every year they have a game like this. And tip your cap to Jaden Daniels. He's a very good quarterback. Terry McLaurin beat Quinyon Mitchell for a nice touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus had 2 touchdowns in the second half. Former Eagle, former Jersey product. But, yeah, man, I think the Commanders would admit as well that they did not play their best football today. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles have to rebound. Obviously you're going out next week against Dallas. Go out there and beat them down. Beat them down. Michael says we can beat anybody on the road. Carlos says Jalen is going to be good. Jaquan says without Hurts, it is over. Michael says in the playoffs, I'm not worried about nobody but the Bucs. Yeah, I guess really a lot of this depends on the injury, outcome, right? Like a lot of it depends on how the injuries are going to play week to week. And I definitely hope that the Eagles are not turning into the Detroit Lions. Definitely hope they're not turning into the Lions. A lot of missed calls, man. A lot of missed calls, a lot of injuries, a lot of adversity. And the crazy part is if DeVonta Smith caught a wide open 3rd down pass, they still win the game. They still win the game. Michael says, how do you feel about the Eagles not getting backups that are mobile? Kenny couldn't really run Jalen Hurts' offense. Well, I don't know if he couldn't run Jalen's offense. I just think Kenny doesn't, like you said, he's not mobile. He doesn't bring that other element to the field, right? So when Jalen Hurts went out, it was more of a one-trick pony, this offense was. It was, all right, let's try to force feed Saquon. And Washington was like, all right, we're just going to take Saquon out of the game now. Now we can bring everybody down, focus on Saquon. We're going to make Kenny Pickett try to beat his own. Made a couple good throws today. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good enough. And I just don't know if there's many backups out there that are going to be dynamic, versatile quarterbacks who can beat you with big plays in the air and on the ground. I just don't know if there's that many out there. I mean, they tried to get Mariota last year. That guy couldn't throw, a 5-yard pass into the ocean if he was wide open. So I don't know, man. And funny enough, Mariota is on the Washington Commanders. So yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of quarterbacks that can run the Jalen Hurts system. I don't know if there's a lot that can run the Jalen Hurts system. So we'll see, man. The Cowboys are terrible. The Giants are terrible. You should be able to win the last 2 games. The main focus for me, now that the number 1 seed is out of play, we'll see what they do about Saquon. I mean, what is he now? Probably 400 yards short of the record, maybe 300. So do you try to force him out there to get the record? Honestly, man, I feel like health is the most important thing. I wouldn't try to, to force anything. Now they say it here, 268. Saquon Barkley needs 268 yards for the single season rushing record. So, 134 per game? I would not try to force him out here, man. I would try to keep this team as healthy as possible. Felt the offensive line didn't play that well in the second half. They played really good in the first quarter. I'd say just keep everybody healthy, man. And I think knowing Saquon as a leader on this team, he's never been about me. He's never made one thing about himself this season. So, yeah, honestly, I don't think Saquon's going to care, but we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what their game plan is here moving forward. Get Kenny Gainwell incorporated a lot more. Probably going to need him for some big runs in the playoffs. But yeah, man, just a very, very weird game for the Eagles. Obviously, their offense became a lot more vanilla without Jalen Hurts. And my biggest takeaway, which I started here with the show, is that I hope people realize the impact of Jalen Hurts and what he brings to this offense. So anyway, man, that's where we're at. Eagles go down 36-33 in a tough division, gritty fight. A lot of adversity in this game. Eagles were still almost able to pull it off, but they come up just a bit short. Eagles fall to 12-3, and now they'll wait to see what happens with the Minnesota Vikings game, and they'll monitor it going forward. But, you know, they have to hope that everybody gets healthy and gets back on the same page next week. That's really the biggest thing now. You know, can the Eagles stay healthy, or are they going to kind of fall down the road that the Lions are headed, which is, we're good. We've won a lot of games, but everybody is banged up. It sucks that they weren't able to get this done today, but it is what it is, and you move forward knowing that you still have a lot of weapons on this team. Appreciate everybody tapping in, man. This is the Eagles post-game live show. Do us a favor, if you're on YouTube, man, hit that subscribe button. Come on over to YouTube, follow us there. And if you're on Facebook, like and share the show around. Eagles go down 36-33. I think they'll be all right, though, man. They'll be all right. Give me your thoughts down in the comments. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, we will catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.